Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, and today we are doing podcast number 10. Now, I'm actually in the middle of editing another podcast at the moment, something a little bit different than what we've been doing, still working on that. But I wanted to come in today and do kind of a quick podcast for you guys based on an experience that I had just within the last day or so. Now, for most of you Power Ranger fans, you are probably familiar with rangerboard.com. That is the premier forum for all Power Rangers discussions, basically. I've had my issues with it in the past since I originally joined, and there are a number of things about it, but that's neither here nor there. What I want to go ahead and talk about is a thought that I had the other day, the post I made about it on Ranger Board, and what it kind of got me to thinking. Now, I will go ahead and post the link down in the comments section, so if anybody wants to read it or make any comments on it, I would definitely encourage that. And for the record, and I hate to go ahead and expose myself, but I'll do it anyway, my screen name on Ranger Board is Sestro. So if you guys have been pissed off at anybody named that since 2004, well, you found them. That would be me. Which I understand my opinions are not popular. Neither is the post I've recently made. And I guess we're going to go ahead and discuss that. So let me kind of start off with where this began. My original intention was, I can't come up with the idea of, I know how we change every year with the way the Sentai footage is going. We do 20, 40 episodes, end of the season, new cast of characters, new location, new sets, everything for Power Rangers. And we've pretty much been in that rut in one fashion or another since the second season of Power Rangers. Yes, it was a continuing story, but again, everything kind of changed with the footage, and once Zeo came around, it really became apparent, probably more so by the time we got to Lost Galaxy, but that's getting really too much into it. You guys know what I'm talking about here. And I started to think, what if we were to do a second season of any particular show? Like if we went back and did Power Rangers Lost Galaxy Season 2, Operation Overdrive Season 2. Basically what I mean is pick up from where we left off from the last episode, basically. What are they doing now? What have they done since that final episode? What have they done since the crossover, since the anniversary episode? Things like that. And it got me to thinking, since, my first exposure was the very first Power Rangers. What can we do with the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Bring Jason, Tommy, Zach, Billy, Kimberly, and Trini back. Now, those of you who are die-hard Power Ranger fans, you know Thuy Trang, the actress that played Trini, passed away in 2001. So bringing her back is obviously not possible and all that. So my question on Ranger Board was primarily geared towards the idea, because once I thought about this, I was like, okay, so assume we're going to go back to the original Power Rangers, we're going to do a story about them. How do we handle Trini? Because it's pretty much going to be an elephant in the room for anybody who decides to revisit these characters. Because you're going to come back with Jason and Billy and Tommy and Kimberly and Zach, and the first thing people are going to ask is, where's Trini? And, of course, us informed fans would know, but the general public would not know. So I posted the question on Ranger Board, what should be done with Trini's character? Should they recast her? Should they mention her in dialogue and then just move on from there? Should she have died in continuity? Is she still alive somewhere at the peace conference for the last 20 years? Or should they just ignore the elephant in the room altogether? Just forget Trini existed? And when I posted this, I didn't think it was going to be something that major. I kind of had a thought of what everybody would say, but I just kind of wanted to hear them say it, get those ideas out there and stuff. And what I got was pretty much the fact that, and I'm just going to condense it here from all the posts that I've read. It's like, We don't need to go back to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers anymore. Who cares? So the topic pretty much derailed from what should be done with Trini if they decide to revisit Power Rangers to they should never revisit the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ever again. So that's kind of where I came up with my topic right here, which is, again, a little bit off subject to what Ranger Board has. But I was just surprised by the reaction that I pretty much got. It was just a real shocker for me to hear, don't go back to the original Power Rangers. Why would you want to go ahead and do that? And there are several posts on there, and you guys can read it for yourselves and kind of get an idea of what everybody's saying. But what I'm kind of picking up on is most people feel that the Mighty Morphin Rangers are done with, their story has been told, and we need to move on. I don't agree with that sentiment. And there are a number of reasons for that. And of course, that goes to basically the title of this episode. Are there still stories to tell? Let's ask that question right now. Is there a way we can go back to the original 5, original 6, however you want to look at it, and still tell stories? Yes. Should we go back and tell those stories? Again, I think yes. I think we have fallen into the rut of accepting the fact that every year things change. That we go from Dino Thunder to RP, and then we go from SPD to Jungle Fury. That, once a series comes in, we are supposed to tell their story within 20 to 60 episodes and move on and forget about them. I don't really believe that. I think that is kind of an injustice to the series as a whole. The idea that these characters come in, occupy space for a while, and then just leave, I don't think it is right. And Power Rangers definitely is unique in the idea that it is a different kind of show. One of my other favorite shows of all time is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And that's for a particular reason. That's because, basically, the story continues over the course of 7 years. The characters grow and develop. That is something we don't necessarily get with Power Rangers, and if we do, it's a very condensed form. Because in DS9, you have 7 years to work all that stuff out. Power Rangers, you have 40 episodes to get that done, and then if you don't get it done, you don't get a chance to go back. Well, I have to ask, why don't we get the chance to go back? I mean, with Saban right now, Saban definitely seems like what they're trying to do is capitalize on the Power Rangers' success, which is why they've used the same theme 2 years in a row, make mentions to the past, but not explore those parts of the past. I mean, I would definitely be on board if they say, all right, we're going to have a new season of Power Rangers. It's going to be, and let's just, for sake of argument here, the newest one in Japan, and I apologize, I can't pronounce it right, Ryu Ranger, the third dinosaur team. Let's say they adapt that into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Mark II or something like that, where they bring Jason and Kimberly and all those guys back, and we have a new story, a new set of adventures for the same characters. But again, they're grown-ups now. They are adults. They are no longer teenagers with attitude. You can really do something with that premise. One, it would be easy for the fact that you don't have to come up with character traits or write new material and stuff. You already have these well-established characters who have changed in the time that they've been on screen, and then you can start taking those characters wherever you want, start exploring those things with them. I mean, Billy is a prime example. You could honestly go back. Last time we saw Billy in Power Rangers, he was on Aquitar, he was with Sestria, his girlfriend, and all that, and that was it. Well, that arises. Is Billy still on Aquitar? Did he marry Sestria? Do they have children? Is he helping the Alien Rangers? Has he become an Alien Ranger? Was he the Phantom Ranger? Stuff like that. There are so many questions that we have unanswered. There was no great send-off to the characters outside of, Kimberly. She had her send off and whatnot. We had Billy and where am I going with this? I'm sorry. I apologize. I always get kind of lost sometimes when I just kind of ramble on with this. But back to the point, it's like, okay, so we wrote Billy into a certain place, but we didn't close any of his storylines. We didn't learn anything essentially new about him from his final story arc. I mean, we can easily take a series where we go up to Aquitar, we see what Billy's doing, maybe he is leading a new team of Rangers, who knows. There are just a number of things that we can go ahead and do with that. But again, back to the whole Ranger Board topic, what seems evident from what I've been hearing is essentially we don't need to go back, we should move on, go to the next series. I don't understand where that mentality is coming from. Again, I said, we've gotten into this rut, we expect that's what's supposed to happen, but isn't the fun part of entertainment franchises is not knowing what's going to happen and revisiting those characters? Again, I just don't understand sentiment from Power Ranger fans. I don't know if these are fans all the way from the beginning, fans that only came on around the Disney era, or what. So I can't necessarily say that they're old school fans who feel this way. But as somebody who was there from day one and grew up with them, I would love to see them go back. And the thing is, I think, and here's hypothetical situation right here, because most television series that have these dramatic casts and part of these large franchises, they're like 4 to 7 years is kind of what you get on television and all that. And, if it wasn't for contract disputes or anti-gay sentiment and all that stuff, I fully believe that the Power Rangers probably would have lasted 7 years with the same cast. With Jason becoming the Red Space Ranger, Tommy becoming the Silver Ranger. Who knows what the combinations are? But I think they would have gone to the 6th or 7th season with the same actors, and we would have gotten more development out of them. Because what people seem to forget about the original Power Rangers is all the marketing was never done. It's the Red Ranger. It's the Blue Ranger. No. It was Jason the Red Ranger. Billy the Blue Ranger. The names and the characters were tied in to the marketing. They were tied into who the Rangers were. And I think that's probably what people are not understanding here is that we developed these characters to be the core foundation of our franchise. We invented Billy as the nerd. We invented Zach as the cool hip-hop dancer. We invented Kimberly as the Valley Girl. We have these people tied into these roles, but they never got the chance to develop a lot of them further. Because again, the only reason that Tommy, Kimberly, and Billy got more development outside of their stereotypes and their opening introduction is because they had the time to expand the stories to change those characters into what they wanted. So you take Tommy, who's basically a klutzy, forgetful martial artist, into a professor of paleontology. You couldn't do that with only 40 episodes and have it credible. But the fact that Tommy was able to last as long as he did has returned to the franchise a number of times that we were able to get this kind of stuff out of the character. So, I mean, like with Tommy, definitely there were more stories to tell. Even if they didn't make sense, they were still able to go ahead and tell those stories. And I think you can do that with the original cast. I mean, I don't know of any Power Ranger fan in person that would not want to see those stories. Now, everybody keeps saying that they're not going to do it. Amy Jo Johnson would never come back. David Yost would never come back. Again, guys, this is hypothetical. It doesn't even have to be a television show. This could be a movie. This could be a book. It could be a comic. It could be any number of things. What got me interested in this and kind of upset about this is that people are resistant to the idea of going back and exploring these characters unless it was a reboot. That seems to be the word that came up a couple of times. that I kind of picked up on. Because a lot of people out there believe that if Power Rangers is ever going to go into movie form again, it has to go through a reboot. Well, first of all, they get rebooted every year, so I don't see the point there. But if you're talking about like a complete reboot, erasing the history, starting over with a clean slate without any of that baggage, I don't necessarily think that that's a good idea. Because, yeah, you could easily get somebody like Zack Snyder or Quentin Tarantino to do a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that has a new Trini, a new Jason, a new Billy, a new Rhea Repulsa, which, personally, I think Lucy Liu would make a great Rita. That's just my 2 cents right there. And that could be successful, and that could go ahead and work. But I don't think we should do that. I think as Power Ranger fans, what we should be asking of Saban, of whoever in the future owns Power Rangers and so forth, is we have a franchise that has continued for 20 years, but every year it's different. Let's go back, bring back some of that familiarity, and do something with these characters. Because there's a lot of storylines that are left lingering out there. Personally, I want to know, did Danny and Kendall ever get together? What became of Wes and Jen's relationship? What happened to the A-Squad Rangers? Is there potentially a story of where they may escape someday? Even small things like, did Bulk and Skull essentially become religious icons on the Horath homeworld when Trider brought them there? And even minor things like Uratan, the spirit of the forest and all that. Power Rangers has such a great and complex history, lore, and mythology that there are tons of stories to draw upon. Now, am I saying they shouldn't go forward or anything and come up with new stories? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you want to tell a story, why not, again, do it with the original Rangers? Let's go back to the glory days, to the classics. Look at the Star Trek reboot. They didn't reboot with Next Gen or DS9 or Voyager or Enterprise. They did the original crew. Now, personally, I would have liked to see William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy and all those guys come back and reprise their roles and do another movie, after Undiscovered Country. But, of course, the continuity doesn't work that way. And I don't think technology is to the point where we can make Leonard Nimoy look like he did in 1966. But the point is, you got that reboot, but you could still go back and tell new stories with those same characters, which is kind of what they attempted to do with the animated series until Ryan Barry just couldn't afford them anymore during the movies and, got Patrick Stewart and Brent Spiner and Michael Dorn and all those guys. But again, with the Power Rangers, we still have the opportunity to go back and come up with some new ideas, some new material and all that. And I just want to go ahead and kind of hit the Trini thing, because I think I've made my point rather clear here as to what I think needs to go ahead and happen, with the characters and so forth. But again, let's talk about Trini right here, because if you're going to do anything other than a reboot and reunite the original 6 Rangers, the glaring problem there is what to go ahead and do with Trini. Now, I just want to go ahead and say for the record that I think they should just have her have passed away in the series. That basically in Power Rangers continuity, she has died at some previous point. Now, I say that for a number of reasons. One is the obvious. I'm not even going to go ahead and mention that. The second most obvious thing is that you can't have a story dealing with the original Rangers and not have Trini in it unless there's a good reason she's not there. Now, retiring at the age of 30 or something like that's a bogus answer. Just saying she wasn't available, we couldn't contact her, stuff like that. Any way to ditch on the fact that you can't get the actress in there, I just think it is kind of lazy. What I just kind of had in my mind is, like, if they ever did this, what it should be is that Trini should be the reason that the Rangers get together. And that's why I kind of said in my last video about my thoughts on Super Mega Force. And again, and this is kind of related to that. I kind of think that her death would have to have meaning. A lot of people look back on Trini as being like the most superfluous Ranger, like she really wasn't needed. You could have gotten with the other four because her only job was to translate Billy's technobabble. Granted, that may be the case, but I'm going to tell you personally, I always liked Trini better than Kimberly. I never understood everybody's fascination with Kimberly because Kimberly was just like one of those girls in high school who was, who would ignore you, and then yet she'd get all these great perks and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe some sort of psychological thing that I had back when I was in high school, middle school, whatever and stuff. But Trini was always a more compelling character to me. And I just thought you can get more opportunities with her and stuff. And I just lost my train of thought right now. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm just really kind of fueled on emotions right here on what I think should happen and just what everybody's reaction is to it and all that. So I'm going to cut this one kind of short today. Really, here's what I would like. I'd just like to see your all's ideas about this in the comments section. You can go ahead and write me in, post video responses, or even go on Ranger Board. But in answer to my original question, yes, there are stories to tell. We should go tell them, and we should handle them in a way that is respectful to the real world events that have happened and to the progression of our characters in the series. So that's just what I want to go ahead and stand with this. Just kind of get that out there, kind of articulate my thing. You just can't say, well, we change every year. That's how it's always been. We're not going to go back and revisit these past Rangers and their storylines. I think that's a fool's errand. I think that it is worth going back to find out what's been going on, to continue on these stories, and just build the mythos. Build the Power Rangers universe even more than it is already. Because there is a rich tapestry there, and it could be so much more if people would just care. And I guess that's what I'm going to go ahead and leave you off on. So, again, give me your thoughts and ideas down in the comment section, or go ahead and email me. But you guys have yourselves a good evening, and the tavern is now closed.